Hey there, back pain and sciatica support group. How is everyone doing today? I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Dr. Nick here with Functional Movement Therapy. I've got a really great topic today, spurred on by some client conversations that really shook me. It really kind of opened my eyes to how we need to be talking about this topic and training this topic on creating spinal stiffness for core stability. And the translations of that, how we implement that, and what that is. In my opinion, core strength is such a buzz term that it can mean so many things. There's not really a definition of that, especially when you take it to application. So I wanted to give you some of my best tips and cues and exercises so that you can understand these principles, and by utilizing principles, then we can apply that to everyday life. That's one of the big things. One of the big differences working with us is we want to give you the why and the education behind the exercise so that you know how to do the exercise right, why you're doing the exercise, and then how the exercise applies to real life. Because without that comprehensive nature, none of it really makes sense, right? I can do 1,000 different clamshells or bridges or leg lifts, whatever. But if we don't know how it applies to real life, then we're just doing things. And what happens, what I find is that when we go back to natural movement, walking, transitioning from different movements, getting up and down from the floor, playing with the kids, our natural movement pattern is going to come right back into play. And that's likely, if you didn't have a significant injury going on, then there's a dysfunction in the movement pattern, and so we don't get to those root causes and address the root causes of movement, which are the dysfunctional components putting extra pressure and contributing to our continued pain and injury. Does that make sense? So we want to reverse engineer, get down to those root causes, understand the root causes, apply the activities that are going to help our muscles to control and progress those muscle imbalances. So we're going to fix the muscle imbalances and learn how to apply those movement patterns and muscle activation techniques into real life. So small process there, but that's what we specialize in, and that's how we get clients all over the world to resolve their back pain without shot surgery, medication, or even hands-on care, because the body can adapt and can heal from even significant back injury if you show it how to move properly. Okay? And I believe that all of us are capable of healing, both psychologically, emotionally, and physically. And that's a big piece of the picture that we need to take into consideration, the entire person. So let's jump into the topic. I'm really excited to get you guys going here. I hope you are too. Pull out your pen and paper. We're going to be jumping into this fully. And if you are watching live, go ahead and be sure to comment live. If you're catching the replay, go ahead and comment replay. I'm actually going to pull up my phone here as well so I can see you guys. It's really hard here on the live screen then to see who is in the chat room and who is watching us, okay? So, all right. Yeah, see, Katie's on, exactly. Hi. All right. Not that I want to watch myself on two screens because it's really weird like that. But I love seeing you guys here and interacting with you all on camera, and then I can catch your questions as they come in. So go ahead and be sure to tag yourself, like it, share it. And we also want to tag, Katie, if you wouldn't mind, can you tag Heather and can you tag Wanda in the video? That would be fantastic because I know that they want to see the replay here as well. So we're going to jump into a little bit about what the core is, and so then you can start to feel it, okay? Three muscle groups really make up the center of our core, all right? The diaphragm, which we breathe from. So good. Take a second to breathe. It's a good thing. The pelvic floor, the pelvic floor is the bottom of our pelvis that holds up the intestines and the genitals here, okay? And this group of hammock-like muscles here will time with the diaphragm. And then you have the transverse abdominis, which is the only muscle that goes around the spine and supports the spine. Okay? And supports the spine this is where this compressive nature goes, rather than a compression here we're going to compress here. And I typically have my little squishy ball here, which I think my daughter stole. But imagine that I have this squishy ball here, aka the disc, right? And if I squeeze in this way, then what's going to happen to that disc, right? If I squeeze in, that disc gets taller. And if we buy a millimeter of space for the disc, then we're buying a millimeter of space, or two, because if we're squeezing here and here, then we've got 2 extra millimeters for these nerves to have more space. And a millimeter for a nerve is a lot of distance, right? You don't need a whole lot of space, you just need a little bit more space. So we need to be a little bit better at this. And if you compound a little bit better every day, this is where we get our results, guys. It can be, you could be a millimeter away from results. And that's really hopeful, right? That's really, really exciting here. The only muscle to be able to do that, to squeeze in this way, is our transverse abdominis. So many people, and it kind of surprises me, many people when they talk about having a strong back, we think about or a strong core, we think about the lumbar paraspinals, which come right back here along the back, or the six-pack muscle, the rectus abdominis, right? We always want to see that six-pack, right? Right up in front. Those muscle fibers are oriented so that they create flexion for the rectus abdominis. This is the front of the pelvis, by the way. This is the back of the pelvis. And the paraspinals create extension, right? We'll come back into extension. They are not going to help us with stability through neutral to create more space. Neither one of those muscle groups. So neither one of those muscle groups are primary core muscles. They're, for me, secondary, even tertiary kind of muscle groups that come in later down the road. But primary core muscle groups, your core at the base is the diaphragm, the pelvic floor, the transverse abdominis. And that's really important to understand because I don't think many people get that education. So right there, you're ahead of the curve, guys. We want to be able to stabilize through that transverse abdominis while being able to breathe and while being able to lengthen and use the pelvic floor. Once we create that, we've got this piston system, right? The diaphragm is going to drop, the pelvic floor is going to drop. The diaphragm is going to rise, the pelvic floor is going to rise. The transverse abdominis stays steady, so we have a positive pressure in the abdomen. Why is that important? It's important for this reason. Because if we don't have that piston system rocking, and oftentimes people don't, one of the most common dysfunctions that we see is actually a breathing dysfunction in clients. It is more common than obesity, it is more common than sedentary lifestyle, it is more common than a traumatic injury. That breathing dysfunction is big, right? So we have to time breathing, have to time that pelvic floor, and have to understand how to activate these deep core muscles so that we can stabilize through that transverse abdominis and find our neutral spine. So neutral spine is our second big topic of the day. When this pelvis is either anterior tilted, so forward tilted, don't drop the pelvis, Nick, anterior tilted, or posteriorly tilted, you're going to get some flexion or extension at the lumbar spine secondarily. So we want to be able to have the vertebrae sitting on top of each other parallel, right? Symmetrical. Not that they're doing this number or this number, right? Because then we're going to have some asymmetrical forces at the disc, and then they're going to have that extra pressure. We want, things to be right on top of one another so our skeletal system is aligned properly. This is where posture comes in, and this is where I think a lot of people have trouble with. I need to be adjusted, my disc is out, I'm slipping here or there. If you are stacked right on top of each other, you're not going to slip, especially if you are stacked properly and have stability activated. There is no slipping. It's when we're kind of sideways and then we start to move in these dysfunctional movements that we allow our body to have the tendency or the propensity to slip. So let's correct that and then allow our bodies to heal properly. Yes? Sound good? All right. Go ahead at this point, guys. I've given you a lot of information. go ahead and throw it in the chat if you have any questions about this stuff, about what's going on here. All right? Because I want to get into some exercises and kind of talk you through what it looks like, what it feels like to activate these core muscles. All right, so here we go. Now, we do not need a lot of room to fire these muscles at all, right? You can do it sitting, you can do it standing. But I want you all to just simply, right now, I call it picture tummy. It's not a lot, it's not bearing down. And what we don't want to do is see how my shoulders roll forward there? If I lock in there, what I've done, I feel this up and down. That's a great sign that I'm locking in my rectus abdominis here. What I actually want to do is draw in the belly button, kind of like if we're taking a selfie or something like that. You got family, you got friends here, everybody's lined up for the picture, and what do we all do? Or I do at least. We draw that belly button in just a little bit, maybe the chest comes up a little bit, smile, right? That's your transverse abdominis, that little thing that draws in and you can feel it across the abdomen right there. And that's all you need to do to activate these muscles properly is actually picture tummy. So we practice that. Draw that belly button in. I can still breathe. And I can allow, as I breathe in, my diaphragm drops and I can allow that pelvic floor to fall. Okay? So we can practice that ability right there to create spinal stiffness there and to find our neutral pelvis. Now, we're not going to cover the neutral spine much more, but it is a very essential piece of the puzzle. There is a previous video on that. So go ahead and scroll back down, use the group search function for the wall plank, I believe is what it's entitled, or you can message me for that direct link at any time. But we're going to focus on spinal stiffness here, and there are 5 different positions that we can utilize to create some different movements and use our secondary muscles of the core in order to really emphasize these core strengthening exercises. But first, we're going to learn how to hold up an elephant. Let's see. This is my better view. There we go. All right. So as we get down to the floor here, or you can do this in the bed, depending on where you're at today. When we are lying down on our back with our knees bent, we will typically, feel okay, right? Because gravity is going to be keeping us to the ground, and once you start to relax, let everything sink in and breathe, then we should be all right. And if you are having trouble with this position, by all means, reach out, let me know. From here, what we want to do is draw that belly button in, allow our legs, pelvic floor to completely relax as we take a few breaths, and then we're going to work on holding up the elephant. So while maintaining the natural curve in our lower back, we're going to draw in, lift one leg, lift the other leg, and we're going to lift the hands. Now, this is going to become tougher, right? We're going to have a challenging time maintaining, keeping our lower back curve, breathing right there. So I want to see if you can hold that for 30 seconds and maintain that. Feeling it across the abs, not that you're pushing the back down. We don't want to be pushing the back down. We don't want to be locking the legs in. We don't want to be holding onto the chest or the neck or the jaw there. We should be able to breathe nice and easily, toes relaxed, okay? If you can do that, so that's maintaining our neutral spine with knees just going to 90, legs and ankles relaxed as you saw. And then we want to turn on the glutes and the scapula, right? The rotator cuff muscles. So once we get here, we're going to draw those shoulder blades into the floor. We're going to first, right, neutral spine, belly button in. Shoulder blades coming into the floor. Glutes turn on, so I'm thinking about rotating my hips out, turning my glutes on. And now I'm going to think about an elephant standing on top of me, and I'm holding that elephant and creating more spinal stiffness, more core activation here. And to feel that little bit extra, By a little bit, I mean a lot here. And to be able to maintain stiffness and stability while breathing, not turning purple in the face, okay? And just creating more muscular activation. That is the key. Because once you can feel that, and then you can consciously do that at any time, well, now we can take our exercises, that principle to our exercises as we move forward. And whether we are, here's the 5 positions that you can get into to start to move properly and functionally while creating stiffness. This is called supine hook line. We can go to side line, right? We can go to prone, which would be on our tummy. We can move to tall kneeling. And we can work to a split stance. And these are very, very good positions to be able to work into in order to work our core properly, our core fully. And by that, as we expand to these secondary muscles, these triangles of stability here, we're going to be working everything from shoulders, shoulder blades, to our knees, right? So we want scapula, TA, glutes, and quads to all be able to fire while we are able to find neutral and activate the core. Right? Finding that core stiffness, finding that core stability is really, really, really imperative. Right? So this is our time to practice in a very safe manner that idea of spinal stiffness. And so we're going to do that with control. We're going to find our motor control, and then we're going to move forward into endurance. And I want to know, guys, if you've been explaining this before, if things are making sense, or if you're looking for help with activation or application of these principles. Because once you understand the principles, and once we can start to move that education forward, oh man, your rehab program it will take on a life of its own. So I really, really look forward to that. And as we are able to do this, take it forward, move it forward, we find spinal stiffness, we find spinal stability, and then we're going to apply those to your big 5 functional movements, right? Our squats, our deadlifts, our lunges, our split stance deadlifts, and our single leg RDL, being able to move forward with the big 5 so that you can create spinal stiffness, spinal stability with your functional movements. So things like picking up the kids or grandkids, picking up the laundry, doing yard work. We've got snow shoveling that's going to be happening here for many of us very, very soon, things that have to be done. But those things just have to be done. So we need to create spinal stiffness during those activities so we can protect ourselves while we do that activity. And the more that you protect, the more that you don't irritate that area or pick the scab, as I like to call it, the better you heal, the better you feel at the end of the night. So it's going to have immediate impact, immediate translation, and should make daily life a little bit better. So I hope that was really helpful for you guys, and I'm really grateful for you all being here again. Always looking to serve you all and give you so much value from being here. If you want more explanation on this, or you have questions about how to apply it again, I'm going to drop my calendar link below. We can set up a free 30-minute Zoom call. We're actually transitioning from phone calls to Zoom calls because I want to see you guys face to face. And again, just let you know that you're in good hands. We do one-on-one trainings. We have digital products as well to help you get out of back pain once and for all. There are so many great resources here in the group as well, and so use them. Invite your friends, invite your network. Let's make this world back pain free. That's our mission. Have a blessed day, you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Dr. Nick signing on.